Hello YouTube, Glenn Riepenstorff here in Brooklyn, New York. Just finished watching a video by a gentleman who goes under the name of King Heathen, and he made the attempts to explain away the New Testament record of the disciples who claimed in the New Testament to have seen the resurrected Jesus Christ, and on that basis alone became changed and turned the world upside down in the first century with that message, and all went to their deaths and martyrdom except one, John, who leaned at the bosom of Jesus, dying of natural causes. Let me put this keyboard over here because I want to deal with his arguments, because he brought up several of them that I want to address that I'm very much familiar with, and I've dealt with this over a period of years, and it's good to deal with them on occasion because people come up with these arguments to try to explain the New Testament. You can't explain the New Testament without coming up with some of these theories, and we're going to look at them. What King Heathen attempted to do was explain how the disciples died not admitting that they were lying, and that or they might have been fooled by the lie that they were believing. That's the basic premise of his video. Let me deal with this number one. Most people will not look exactly how the original 12 disciples of Jesus died. Let me just, for the record, read a few of these and let it speak for itself here. Simon Peter was crucified upside down at his own request. This wish of Peter was gratified by the taunting Romans in Nero's circus in AD 67. Simon Peter said that he was not worthy to be crucified in the same position as his Lord. So, obviously then, if the theory that either the disciples died believing their own lie, or they believed it so much that they believed it to be so, even though they were fooled by it, is so, then Simon Peter was one of the biggest fools who ever lived, because he allowed himself to be crucified upside down. Andrew was crucified. Matthew, who wrote the Gospel of Matthew, died by the sword. John, it says, died of natural causes, although there are other traditions that say John was buried alive in Patmos, and when John's disciples came to dig up his body and bury it, they said it could not be found. James, the son of Alphaeus, was crucified. Philip was crucified. Simon was crucified. Thaddeus was killed by arrows. James, the earthly brother of Jesus, was stoned to death. Thomas, who said, and we'll get into that later, died of a spear thrust. Bartholomew was crucified. James, the son of Zebedee, died by the sword. That's just fact. These are historical facts of history. Anybody who knows how the disciples died recognizes that this is bona fide truth of how these original 11 of the 12 died. Horrible deaths at the hands of the non-believers, who basically said, if you don't stop proclaiming this Jesus as the Son of God, literally God himself in perfect sinless human flesh, and that he actually bodily rose again from the dead, we're going to kill you. Now, King Heathen said that in his argument, most people will believe their own lies. I agree. We know that to be so. I agree with him totally, wholeheartedly when it comes to David Koresh, the wacko from Waco, as he was called. What we need to establish on the outset here is that David Koresh claimed to be Jesus Christ. And Jesus, in the gospel narratives, in the record, warned of false Christs, false messiahs who would come using his name, Christ or Messiah, and would deceive many. He says, take heed that no one deceive you, Jesus said. Many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. Well, David Koresh is one of those. I don't believe David Koresh was Jesus Christ. He was a false prophet, false Messiah. And most certainly, Jesus Christ did not tell his early disciples to act or behave the way David Koresh demanded his followers acted and behaved. No way. You look at the New Testament you don't find the character of Jesus close to David Koresh. So let's just put that to rest. If you really are honest, there's just no way. The character of Jesus is impeccable in the New Testament. Now, what I would like to ask King Heathen is, if this is a lie that was made up by all the disciples, and if they believed this lie, how do we explain the character of Jesus mentioned in the Gospels? And how did these liars and those who were fooled by this lie make up such a majesty such as this? What geniuses they were, who were fooled by their own lie and went to their deaths and martyrdom to make up a genius being like this. King Heathen, have you ever read the words of this Jesus in the New Testament? And if so, how he baffled everybody he came in contact with his wisdom and understanding. Well, would you say that people who were simple, as the disciples were, who in your estimation believed either their own lie and or knew they were lying and all went to their deaths and martyrdom believing their own lie, thinking they could get away with it, would somehow be capable of making up an individual with the majesty and grandeur as the Son of God mentioned in the New Testament? I seriously doubt it. I think it is beyond logic to assume that. Your argument that Paul went to jail and died for a lie, or he was also part of this delusion, I don't hold weight. I don't buy that either. You know, when you read the Gospel account in Luke, and if you have ever heard of Sir William Ramsay, there's a book called The New Testament Documents, Are They Reliable? By F.F. Bruce. It's a fantastic work having to do with the New Testament documents, reliability or unreliability. And he calls Luke an historian of the first rank. Here's what Luke had to say, who was not an early disciple of Jesus. Inasmuch as many have taken in hand to set in order a narrative of those things which are most surely believed amongst us. So this view of Jesus was believed, just as though those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses